Okay, so a supermarket in California is addressed to whom? Walt Whitman. This is like his hero, right? You're my hero because you are a poet, because you are the ultimate survive on your own, get in touch with your soul, transcendentalist American poet. They have a lot in common philosophically, spiritually, poetically, and they're both gay, as it were. And, not to say that Whitman is necessarily strictly or only gay, but there's definitely some homoerotic, there are definitely homoerotic parts of his work. In Song of Myself Alone, if you look at Song 11, right after Song 10, which you read, it starts out 28 young men bathe in the river, 28 young men and also, beautiful or something like that. So, I think that it's less of Whitman's being gay and more of his feeling like the world is his lover, like he makes out with his own soul in the meadow, right? So it's not like he's gay. It's more like, I love you, Bug. I love you, Mary. I love you, John. I love you, Self. It's more like I love everything than, yeah. I mean, why not? So, that's Whitman, right? From what we read of him. So, but Ginsberg is not going to let some of the homoerotic parts of Ginsberg's work be ignored anymore. And he's the one who first outs Whitman sort of as, having this homosexual voice, homoerotic voice in American literature. Because it was not talked about before then. I tell you what. All right. So they have these things in common. In the first stanza, what you should have noticed is the peaches, the avocados, the tomatoes, the watermelons. What's going on here? What's all this stuff? Fruit. Yeah. Produce. Fruit. Reproduce. And all of this produce, because it's not only like the peaches, the tomatoes, the avocados. It's side by side with the husbands, the wives, the children, right? The babies. So that's like the fruit of regular families, right? And just like the peaches and the avocados and the watermelons, that all fit in their nice, neat little box in the produce section. Here are the wives and the husbands and the babies, and they all have their nice, neat little box in the produce section of, how humanity is productive or reproductive. Here's what we produce. And, Whitman says, we don't fit in. We don't belong here. Here you are, a lonely old grubber. And of course, Whitman is not literally with him. He's imagining him with him, or more likely on acid. This is more likely an LSD foray late night at the grocery store. And the reason I say that is not only because he's, hallucinating, like, oh, my best friend Walt Whitman is here, but, you see at line, he's also imagining Whitman flirting with the grocery boys, when he says, who killed the pork chops? What price, banana? Are you my angel? So it's sort of like, he's imagining Whitman trying to awkwardly flirt with the grocery boys by saying, who killed the pork chops? Who turned this pig into a nice packaged rectangle? Did Whitman have that in the mid-19th century? No. What price, banana? Like, what price do we all pay for no longer hanging from trees, or for being fruitful, or for not being fruitful? Are you my angel? Can you save me? Can you redeem me from this, like, cyclical, mundane, common life? You know? And then, I wandered in and out of the brilliant stacks of cans following you. Brilliant stacks of cans? What's wrong, Lynn?
My eyes are bothering me.
Oh, so you're not blown away by my interpretation of...
We were laughing about the fact that it's the banana that he's asking about.
Yeah, no, for sure. Is that a coincidence? No. No, absolutely not. Yeah, what price? Absolutely, that can work. You know, I'm gonna bring that one up because. But is the banana is the fact that the banana is phallic a coincidence? No.
Like the thing is Ginsberg pretending he's Walt Whitman on the trip, and he's actually.
Oh, for sure. It's Ginsberg wishing he could say something to the grocery boys without getting, like, beaten to death. You know, in the 1950s. Yeah, what price? Banana? Oh, I'm sure. Like, the fact that it's a banana and not a tomato. Yeah. And, like, the watermelon, when he talks about, you know, and you, Garcia Lorca, you know, you guys all know Federico Garcia Lorca is a flamboyant Spanish, you know, flamboyantly gay Spanish poet. And it's like, why the watermelon with Lorca, you know?
Why aren't you with the banana?
Yeah, like, if you think about it, the watermelon is like big and extravagant and, you know, in your face, flamboyant, pink on the inside, you know, just like all of these things that you can read into the watermelon. But no, is the banana a coincidence? No, absolutely. You can read that as something phallic. Does anybody know what phallic means?
Yeah.
Okay, I had a class who did not know what phallic meant. So I just stand there while I looked up phallus, you know, so. It was fun, yeah. So I wandered in and out of the brilliant stacks of cans. Do you walk by a display at Publix of aluminum cans and go, God, that's beautiful? Yeah, do you if you're tripping? Maybe. So there's like one of your clues, you know, like, oh, that's so shiny and pretty, you know. And exactly, followed in my, he says,
I didn't get in my mind part.
there you go. He says, followed in my mind by the store detective.
In my imagination.
He's in my imagination. Yeah, he's telling you, maybe I'm paranoid. I'm being paranoid. You know, he's not saying like they're literally following him. He's telling you, I'm paranoid. I'm tripping. Right?
We'll make a sausage party.
Well, he wishes for sure. Like he would love that. Where are we going, Walt Whitman? The doors close in an hour. Which way does your beard point tonight? Remember I showed you guys Whitman's beard? So, wait. So, it said, I touch your book. And he's got the only real part of him he has of Whitman is the book. Now listen. In the first stanza, he has said, I went into the neon fruit supermarket dreaming of your enumerations. So Whitman's enumerations are things that are numbered. What is numbered? Song of Myself. So when he says, I touch your book and dream of our odyssey in the supermarket and feel absurd. What the book is Song of Myself. The book is the same book you read. You know, that Whitman's carrying around the supermarket, tripping, you know, being in love with Walt Whitman. All right. Will we stroll, dreaming of the lost America of love, past blue automobiles and driveways, home to our silent cottage? You know, he can't talk about who he is. He can't talk about what he wants. You know, and neither could Whitman. And then this last part, what I want you to note is there's a reference to Greek mythology here, or Roman mythology, where there's this what America did you have when Charon quit poling his ferry across the river and you got on the smoking banks of the Lede? This is all in Roman mythology. The river Styx. It's well, it's like right, he could have just said, "What America did you have when we died?" Like that's what he could have said. Instead, he brings up this beautiful mythological, image for Whitman's passing. Anytime you give somebody like a mythological context, you elevate them to that status of myth or legend. Okay? So he's not trying to turn him into a Greek god, although I guess kind of. I want you to see that this image is not him being prosaic or difficult or overly scholarly. He's lifting Whitman up to this level of myth or legend. That's almost more of like a legendary hero than just a poet, at least to him. It's almost like building a statue of somebody and having them in the pose of like the discus thrower, that famous statue. That means I'm trying to create the context of this person as an amazing athlete, right? Or like creating a statue of a person in the same manner of Botticelli's Birth of Venus. I'm trying to say that you're a goddess. Get it? That's what he's doing for Whitman here, elevating him to that level of legend, of myth. Okay, so for this poem, Ginsberg, our person, Beat Generation, our movement, famous for Howl. Howl is supposedly the moment that Ginsberg read Howl out loud is the moment that starts the Beat Generation. So famous for his poem Howl, that was like a manifesto for the Beat Generation. Then TOIs, etc. Fruit or produce, as implied in almost the comparison of how humans are fruitful or productive. And, in that sense, that makes him and Whitman worthless or unfruitful. And then, that last image of, and the banana's fruit too, right? So it's we're continuing that. So we could definitely say that that's, meant to speak about a reproductive organ, since it goes along that same vein. And then that last image of, Charon, Styx, and Leith meant to elevate Whitman to this level of, legend or myth. Okay, questions about Ginsberg, Kerouac, or the Beat Generation?